Oh, it's for someone that's not here. He couldn't be here.
Oh,
Luke couldn't
oh,
be here. So
okay.
that's for Luke. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I already heard. Even though I got your name. It's hard to hear you. Ready?
Here, I'll turn around. Turn around. Okay, guys, let's go ahead then and start. We'll start over here, and Cooper, you can ask Mr. Apple your questions. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I do.
Okay. Either
I
one.
don't know. I don't know.
Whatever you want.
If they can hear me.
All right, so heads up, we are gonna get started, and we'll start over here with Cooper.
So
Ask
everybody
your,
can hear me.
we'll say one of your questions, and then we can go back around.
Oh, you got it. Oh, that.
Well, now, Cooper, you can just
You're-
ask him out loud. You don't have to bring it to him. Just ask him. Here, stand up. Just stay over here and ask him a question.
Or we can even give the kids the microphone.
Well, that's true too.
How did you make soap?
All right, how do you make soap?
That's a good question.
Not that one.
How did you blow soap?
Well, just one at a time. Hang on.
Hey, that was a good question. How do you make soap? I don't know. I helped my mother make a lot of soap. We made lye soap, and the one of the ingredients is lye, of course, and then you use hog cracklings or hog like a hog lard, and you cook it in a big pot, and you cook it down to where it almost gets to a solid, and then you let it. You cut it up in little chunks and let it cool for several days. But I don't know, I don't remember all of the ingredients that was in it.
Okay, and go ahead, Ray.
How did you make candles?
Well, one time, we had a real severe winter, and, we only had to do candles one time, and, we butchered a lot of goats, and my mother would take and save the grease, or we call it goat tallow, from the goats, and she had it in a fruit jar. So one time we had about 2 foot of snow, and there's a lot of ice and everything, and we couldn't leave our farm for like 3 weeks. And so we ran out of kerosene. So my mom had to figure out a way to make some candles. So she took a little dish, and she poured some of that goat oil or goat tallow in this little dish, and then she took an old sheet and tore it in strips and twisted it real tight and bent it like with a wire in it or something other to make it stand up. And she'd like that, and it made a real good candle. It burnt for hours. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
You
Autumn?
got another one?
No.
No.
Well, they all have a second one, but I told them maybe wait until everyone has a turn and then read it.
Oh, okay.
They've all got two, yeah.
And kids can step up to that microphone.
I have
too.
3.
Oh, okay. And guys, Mr. Alex suggested you could step up here, you mean?
Yeah, if they want to.
If you want to, you can step up to this microphone to ask your question. So, Autumn, go ahead.
Let me just turn it this.
Okay, thanks.
There you go.
What foods did you eat growing up?
Pull it down a little bit in front of you.
What foods did you eat growing up?
Ooh, that's a good question. Of course, we raised our own food, on the farm, and the only thing we had to buy was we'd have to go into town and buy flour, to to make bread and stuff like that. But, we raised, lots of pinto beans, tomatoes, potatoes, sweet potatoes and Irish potatoes. Well, you've never heard them called Irish potatoes, have you? Just potatoes? And, lots of potatoes, and we'd go out for our sweet corn, you know, that, most of the time your family goes and buys sweet corn, right? Okay, we'd go right out and eat the same corn that the cattle did. We'd catch it young, you know, when it was in its prime, and we'd take those big ears off of there, and we eat corn on the cob, just like the cows did, except that we cooked it, of course. And so, other than that, you know, lots of okra. We raised about everything. We had lots of grapes and raspberries, all kinds of berries, apples and peaches. Yeah.
How did you listen to music?
That's a good question. We were so poor that we could hardly ever keep a radio running, because in those days we didn't have electricity. Can you believe I grew up with no electricity? Well, I did. And we had no electricity until 1948. And Mr. Hignite, that lived on the next farm over, he would, for some reason, he was able to keep a battery for his radio, because you had to have a big battery that you hooked up to the radio. And sometimes we'd have one that would last a while. And when our battery gave out, we would walk on Saturday night an hour, not an hour, 1 mile over to Mr. Ignat's place and listen to the Grand Ole Opry. You've heard of the Grand Ole Opry? You haven't? It's in Nashville, Tennessee, and it had a clear channel station, and we could get it up here on the mountain, and that's about the only music we were able to get out here on the mountain. Other than we'd have little get-togethers and play music ourselves.
Did you ever get in trouble at school?
Pardon?
Did you ever get in trouble at school?
No, but my brother did. My brother got in trouble one time and got a spanking by the teacher. And in those days, the teachers was able to what they would do, they would make you go out in the woods and cut your own switch, and then they'd whip you with it.
Wow.
But today, the teacher's not allowed to touch you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's illegal.
I'm not even allowed, I wouldn't, if my kids were young, I wouldn't even be allowed to whip my own kids.
Sorry.
But in those days, the teachers did a lot of whipping.
A lot of him with doors too. Oh, yeah. Just smack them upside the head with the door.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
How did you put the fire out when the school bus came?
Usually, you know, we didn't have to.
Well, and hang on just a minute and let me tell the STAR students what she's talking about. In the book, sometimes on very cold mornings, it was a long, long walk to where they caught the school bus, and they would build a fire to stay warm until the school bus came. So she was asking, how did they put it out when they saw the school bus driving it?
Yeah, mainly we would build the fire right in the middle of the road, so it wouldn't be any danger of the forest catching on fire. So usually when the school bus showed up, we just kind of scattered the little logs out, and they'd go out by themselves. So, because we didn't have any water available or anything, so that when most of these kick them around, make sure they weren't flaming, and just they'd die out during the day.
Zach, you're up.
What age did you first
go hunting, and what did you mostly go hunting for?
What age did you first go hunting, and what did you hunt for?
At the age of 12, my dad told me one time that I could not leave the house without a gun. So, because we didn't have no police force or anything up here, so you had to protect yourself. And so Dad always wanted me to have a gun with me, either a 410 shotgun or a 22. And so I would carry that with me. I had two little brothers that wouldn't hike through the woods and went hunting with me and everything, but I was the one that carried the gun. And so that at about the age of 12, that Dad made sure that I had a gun with me every time I left the house. Yeah, about the age of 12.
And what did you hunt for?
Oh, that's right. We hunted a lot of squirrels during the squirrel season. But at night, we would go possum hunting and coon hunting. And we'd take and we'd bring, we'd skin the animals and tan the hide. And then we'd sell possum hides for 50 cents and we'd sell coon hides for $2.50. That was a lot of money in those days.
Sam, I believe you're up. I didn't give you your questions? Okay. Go ahead, Brecken, I'll search for them. Do you remember them? You probably remember them. Oh, I didn't see Ian. Do you remember them? Okay, I'll look then.
Somebody back there had their hand up. Go ahead.
I was wondering, since you said you lived on a farm, right?
Yeah.
You had animals. How did you like protect them during like coyote season and stuff like that?
How did we protect them?
Yeah, from like coyotes and.
We didn't have any coyotes in those days. We had wild dogs, and they never did bother our cattle, or, you know, any of our livestock. They stayed a long ways from the house, because we had a lot of dogs that kept any varmints, any wild dogs from coming close to the house. So we didn't really have any problem with losing cattle from the wild animals.
All right, Sam, go ahead.
Did you play board games, and what was your favorite one?
Did you play board games? They know from the book that you played Monopoly, and he was wondering if you played other board games
Yeah,
as well.
played a lot of checkers and a lot of
What did I say?
dominoes.
You said Monopoly.
I meant dominoes, thank
I like
you.
marbles.
Yeah, I meant dominoes.
Dominoes and checkers. And by the way, when the girls got their jacks out and played jacks, I played with them. I played with the girls.
Oh.
I could beat the girls playing jacks. Cause I had a good left hand, but I butchered this hand up.
Oh, that's another story. That's a good story too.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want me to tell that today or not.
I think it'd probably be all right if you want to.
Yeah, when they get through asking me questions, I'll tell
Okay,
them.
all right, we'll wait for that one.
I'll tell
That's a
them
good
about
one.
my short fingers.
All right, Ian,
What was your favorite experience or adventure with Helen and GL?
and you can go to the microphone if you want to. You don't have to, but you can if you want to.
Okay. I think I heard him, but I'm not sure.
Your favorite experience or adventure, he said, with Helen and GL.
Well, Helen always stayed at home and helped out with Mom, you know, and helped her, you know, keep the house clean and all that stuff. She never did hike through the woods or nothing. But me and my Gio and my little brother Joe, which is not mentioned much in the book because he was so much younger, I'd grab the 22 and we'd just hike all through these hills and just be mischief and climb trees. And yeah, so we had a lot of fun in these forests.
These forests, yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Okay, Brecken?
Did you enjoy living in Mount Magazine?
Did you enjoy living
Oh,
in
yeah,
Mount?
I enjoyed growing up here on the farm. It was good for me. It was good for me. I'm glad I grew up on the farm. And, I've transitioned from farm to auto mechanic to in the army and all kinds of different, I worked for Disney for 35 years. But I enjoyed the farm tremendously, yeah. It was a great experience.
Ella, you wanna go to the microphone? Or Ella, yeah.
How are we doing it?
Either way,
Oh, yeah.
one of you hop up and go to the microphone and ask the question.
What was like the most animals? What was the? Hold on.
Ella, can you go? I'm trying to still practice what I'm doing.
Okay, that's fine, yeah.
What did she say?
I'm trying to figure out how to say it.
Something
She's
about
gonna
the
go
animals?
next.
Something about the animals?
Should I still go
I think it was, what animal was there the most of, am I right?
Well, it's like, what animal did you see the most of? growing up?
Okay, there you go. What animal did you see the most of growing up?
Well-
That's a good question.
They was, of course, lots of squirrels and lots of birds and stuff like that, but we didn't, when I was growing up here, the farmers had already killed off all of the bears and the deer. And so we didn't see, until about 2 years before I left the farm, that the government reintroduced the bears and the deer in here. So when I left at the age of 18, there was quite a few deer and bear at that time. We saw a lot of deer. Because it was about 1947, they reintroduced the deer and the bear.
Let's put it right there you go. That'll work. And did I ask your question?
Anybody else back there? Go ahead.
Eris, I think it was you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Do you like spaghetti?
Pardon?
She said you like spaghetti.
Spaghetti?
Yes.
Yeah, but you know, on the farm, we never eat spaghetti because we always had too much other good food. So we never did eat spaghetti on the farm, but I eat a lot of it since I moved to the city. Yeah,
So never tried it until you were probably 18 or so then, huh?
probably, yeah, after I was 18 before I ate
There you go.
spaghetti, yeah.
All right, and we got Ellie.
What did you do at recess at school?
On recess?
Yeah, what did you do at
Oh,
recess?
we got in all kinds of trouble. No, us guys would run foot races, and we'd also set up a high jump, see who could jump over the pole. We'd get a pole between two bushes, and we'd keep raising it until we couldn't jump any higher.
It's kind of like limbo, but
And guess what? After us guys got the pole so high that we couldn't jump over it anymore, there was one girl in the group. She would wait in the background until we all got done, and then she'd jump over the highest. She always beat us. She always, her name was Lordell Brown, and she could jump higher than any man could, any boy could in the class.
One thing, Miss Evans, is it okay if I ask something to the question?
Has everyone got to ask one?
Yeah.
Okay, we can go back around then. Ask your second question if you want to.
Okay.
Or another one if you have a different one. That's all right.
Like two.
That, okay.
Did you play any sports at recess, or did you play any sports in general?
Did you play any sports at recess or in general?
Well, yeah, we would get like a 2x4 or something, because we didn't have any ball bats. The school was too poor to furnish with a ball bat, so we made our own ball bats out of a 2x4 or some kind of a plank. And we'd find some some baseball that was all beat up and the skin was coming off of it and everything, and we played, we had a little baseball field set up on the schoolyard. And we went to school in a one-room school.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want me to do my last question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What were your hobbies on that magazine?
Hobbies? I never did look at them as hobbies, but anyway, to entertain ourselves a lot of times. I don't think any of you young ladies and gentlemen in here that knows what I'm talking about, but on a wagon wheel, there's a little band that's on the end of the hub of the wagon. And there was a lot of those laying around because the old wagons had deteriorated and those bands fell off. And we would take a stick and then we'd put a little piece of metal on it and we'd push that around. That was our toy.
Oh, okay.
So we made our own toys out here on the farm.
So basically you make everything out of yourself. You
Pardon?
make everything yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Made everything yourself, basically.
Oh, yeah. Any toy that we had to make ourselves. Either dad or dad would make it for us. Yeah.
All right, let's just
Yeah.
start back at Cooper then and go back around with your second question then. Do you have time, Mr. Apple? You have
Oh,
time?
sure.
Is that all
Oh,
right?
I've got a lot
Okay.
of time.
Very good, go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you blow soap bubbles? Did you blow soap bubbles?
He was wondering if soap bubbles were a thing, you know, like with the little one.
No, we didn't have anything to, never blew soap bubbles. But, yeah. Cause I know today you got these little guns that can go around and shoot the bubbles
Yeah.
and everything, but yeah, we didn't have anything like that. Yeah,
All right, Reed, and you can go up to the microphone if you want.
I think, oh, yeah.
Were there deer and were there bears on the mountain?
No, yeah, I was saying a while ago that they reintroduced the bears when I was about 15 years old, 15 or 16, and they started reintroducing the bears out here because the farmers had killed off all the bears and the deer and the turkeys. We didn't have any turkeys either because they ate up the crops. So everybody farmed out here, so they killed off all of them, but they reintroduced them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
That's okay.
This isn't really a question, but it's just more about, when you were talking about turkeys, my mom used to have a pet turkey. Whenever someone would pull up in the driveway, it'd start pecking on the glass.
And what about them pecking on the grass?
The glass.
The glass was
Whenever you
Oh,
pull up with
the
car-
glass at the house?
Whenever it would pull up in the driveway, it would get on top of the car and start pecking at the glass.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you get out, it'd chase you around the yard until you get in the house.
Well, we had a whole flock of geese and they did that to us. We'd get close to the geese and they would take off after us and we called it pinching. They would pinch us in the rear end and make us scream and yell and run. Yeah, the geese were really neat, really aggressive. Yeah,
All right, Autumn?
but we didn't have any turkeys.
How did you entertain yourself growing up?
You probably already answered that. How did you entertain yourself growing up?
Yeah, that was what I was talking about a while ago with it, making the little thing to push those things around. And like we would, me and my brothers would found a real loose sandy dirt area or something like that, and we just take little rocks and make cars out of it and just push them through the sand and stuff like that. And climb trees, jump out of trees. And that was our entertainment. Yeah.
Hadley?
Does it ever get warm in Mount Magazine?
Does it ever get warm in Mount Magazine?
It can get pretty hot up here. It can get pretty hot. Okay, the top of the mountain where you are now, and especially up at Signal Hill and stuff like that, it's always about 10 degrees cooler than it would be in Hackett, for instance, or Fort Smith, or Parrish, or Havana. But I've seen it so hot down there on our farm, which was just a little lower than this, and like on a Sunday after church, a lot of times we'd come back from church, and mom would quick, in order to cool off, what we would do. You can't get there anymore, but there's towers out on the end of the mountain up here. Did you see the towers that are up, the military towers that are, okay, when you're going back home, if you look up at the end of the mountain, you'll see a lot of towers that are communications on them. That was the coolest spot on the mountain. And so we would, my mom would make up the picnic dinner for us, and we'd get in the horse-drawn wagon and go all the way to the west end and have a picnic dinner late in the afternoon. That was in order to cool off.
Yeah,
It got
because
so
no
hot.
air conditioning, of course. Cooper, come sit over here. Charlie, you go ask your question.
Can I sit over there?
No.
Chair?
Just sit over here.
How many peach trees did you have on your farm?
And what kind of trees?
How many peach trees did you have on your farm?
How many peach trees?
Oh, peach trees? Oh, you were the one that asked that question. You know, I don't know the exact count, but we had 10 acres. 10 acres of peaches. And that was right across the street from our house, and during peach season is when they got ripe, all we had to do was walk across the street, and we'd go pull some peaches off the tree, eat them. Yeah, it was we had a lot of trees, but I'm not sure how many, but we had 10 acres. 10 acres of trees. We had 10 acres of apples and 10 acres of peaches.
Okay.
How did you get sorghum molasses?
How did you get sorghum molasses? We have not got to that chapter yet in the book.
Oh, okay. Who asked that question?
Right here.
Right here?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, when you get to that part of the book, you'll see me working at the sorghum mill. It'll show my picture of feeding the sorghum mill. And we had a horse. You grow, you've probably seen in pictures about the Hawaiian sugarcane fields. Have you ever seen a picture of those sugarcane fields in Hawaii?
Maybe not.
Okay, so we did the same thing. We planted cane sorghum, you know, the cane, the plant, and it looks just like the sugar cane. And so we cut those at the end of the year whenever they matured, and we'd squeeze the juice out of it. And Mr. Hignack was a master cook-off, and he would cook all the sorghum for us. So you cook it in a pan in increments. The pan was divided into 3 sections, and you pour the juice in, and it goes into the first section, and then you got a fire under it, and it starts warming it up, and then you move it to the second section, and then the final section. And that's how you made sugar, how you made sorghum molasses. Yeah.
What games did you play as a kid, and how did you play those?
What were some of the games you played, and how were they played?
One of them was Mumbly Peg. where you drove pegs in the ground and see if they could, by the time you got through playing that, you had dirt all over your face, because you had to go down and with your teeth and bring them out of the dirt. And I was telling my relatives that are with me about what I used to do, but I better not tell you that story. Because we used to use carbide, and it was pretty dangerous.
Okay.
We'd make little bombs out of it.
Oh, yeah, we won't go into that.
Out of carbide. Yeah.
All right, Sam?
What did you do on Christmas?
What did do on Christmas? Our church always had a Christmas party, and most of us kids were always in the Christmas party. We played some part of like Jesus and Moses and whatever characters that the director decided to have us in, and they dressed us up like that. We did a Christmas program every year, and just before Christmas, the adults would have what they call a pie party, a pie supper, and they would the women would bake a pie, and then the men would bid on the pie, and whoever bid the highest got to eat the pie with that lady. And then if it was young guys, teenagers, they got to go for a walk with that girl the guy that brought the gal that brought the pie, and the guy that bought the pie would get to go for a walk in the woods. And it was a lot of fun, and they used that money to buy candy, and we got oranges once a year at Christmas time. It was the only time we ever saw an orange in those days, and a banana. You usually got a banana and an orange and a lot of candy. Yeah, at Christmas time.
Right.
How many people were in your school?
Right. How many people were in your school?
There, about as many as sitting right here.
Oh.
That was the whole school, first through eighth grade. First through eighth grade was about as many children that are there right now.
Good question, Ian. Okay, Brecken, go ahead.
How long did you live in that magazine?
How long did you live on Mount Magazine?
We moved away. My dad sold the farm when I was 18 years old. Yeah.
Okay, and Cooper, did you have, or did you already ask your second one? You did, didn't you? Okay, so girls, it's up to you. Do you have a second question?
Ellie already did her.
Okay. Oh, that's right, okay. And then anyone else have a question then? Oh, I'm sorry.
What is like the weirdest animal you've ever encountered on that magazine?
I was trying to think. I've got your itinerary right here, and I read that question, and I don't know. I never did call them real weird, but we killed a lot of rattlesnakes, and the rangers don't want me to say that. Because you can't kill rattlesnakes now, but and back in those days, every time we run onto a rattlesnake, we killed it, or a copperhead.
I imagine a lot of people still do, don't you?
But I can't think of any real weird animals.
I have another one, but it's not in my paper. Can I say it?
Okay.
Is like instead of this one, is there like an animal that like you didn't like see a lot, like a rare animal that you saw, like an animal that you didn't see a lot?
A rare animal.
So, did you ever see like a rare animal?
Or, like an animal that you've never seen.
Right, yeah.
An animal that you don't usually see, like on the day.
There you go.
No, no, it was just, the animals that are out here all the time, that were there in those days. No, nothing out of the ordinary.
Anyone else have a question?
I was gonna ask him about, weren't you, here when that airplane crashed?
Yeah, when both of them crashed. In 1945, there was a AT-6 trainer that crashed on the end of the mountain down there. And then, I was the first one me and my dad and Mr. Hignett was the first three people that reached the one in 1947. Because me and my dad watched that hit the ground. We watched it explode. And we got in the car and got up there as quick as we could. We were trying to get up there as fast as we could to save lives, but they were all passed. They all deceased by the time we got up there. And in fact, they were all deceased on the impact. And that was a B-26 Mitchell bomber.
How many people could fit in the school bus?
Yeah, tell us about the school bus. The STAR students don't know about that.
Yeah, we, they wasn't enough children that lived on the mountain to run a regular school bus. So the old school bus that they had at one time, they did away with that, and they just used a pickup after that, and they put sideboards on the back and stretched a tarp over it, and they would be about there was a west end route and an east end route, and they had always run the west end first, and the pickup, and they would be 8 or 10 children in the pickup at one time. Yeah. And that was our little school bus. Yeah. And sometimes one of the kids would sit up in the front with the guy that was driving the pickup. You know, because we have a pretty good sized crowd. And sometimes we would sit on each other's lap. And fight and everything else, you know, how we do when we're young. Slap each other around and get into fights and get into fights on the back of the pickup. And he'd have to yell out the window, "Settle down back there." Yeah.
Anybody else? Star? Questions? Okay, Eris? Adults, any questions?
How do we trace our hand?
My daughter, do you want to ask any questions?
No, I'm good.
My son-in-law, do you want to ask any questions?
Didn't you tell us you saw Sasquatch up here one time?
No.
So what happened to your
The gentleman there in the red shirt?
Were y'all making pineapples?
No, we didn't grow any pineapples. Yeah.
what happened to your fingers?
See, so she wants to know what happened to my finger.
Well, you said
Let me ask all the questions, and now I'll tell you the story about the fingers. By the way, I'm a little short-handed on the right hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you ever eat walnuts?
Ooh, yeah, we had black walnuts on our farm. You know, the real hard walnuts, not the paper shell ones that you buy in the store. But my mother would say, well, you know, I'm going to be making some walnut pies, and you know, pies with walnut and walnut meat in them. And so she would send us. Me and my sister would take a hammer each, a claw hammer, and we'd go down underneath the walnut trees, and we'd crack walnuts all day long and pick them out with a horseshoe nail.
So like this picture.
Yeah, Kelly, hop up there and let's get a picture real quick. That's the
Yeah,
picture of.
yeah, that's what we were doing, was cracking the walnuts over, open and picking the meat out of the walnuts.
Yeah. I was looking through our thing.
Yeah,
and found this.
you found it.
Yeah.
Right. And we found some black walnuts while we were hiking right before,
Oh, yeah?
we came. Yep,
Yeah,
sure did.
yeah. We had a lot of walnut trees on the farm. Yeah, so we, the walnuts, and there was some of the kind of nut that, I can't remember the name of it now, but, you had to have gloves on to open it up. And you could eat the nuts.
Do you have more questions over there?
Yeah, go ahead, young lady.
Hadley, I think he's talking to you.
What music did you listen to when you were my age?
What music did you listen to when you were their age?
Just the Grand Ole Opry.
They don't know what that is.
I know. I know I found that out already. But that was the only music that we could get out here on the mountain, other than playing music ourselves. You know, some of the guys could play fiddles, some of the guys in the neighborhood could play guitars and so forth. And so sometimes we'd have little musicals, you know, locally. But other than that, we would listen to the Grand Ole Opry and the people like George Jones
This is basically
and
country music.
Cowboy Copas and people like that. Yeah.
Were there any coffee beans so you can make coffee?
How did you make coffee?
Hey, I'm glad you asked that question. During World War II, everything was rationed, and so during the war we couldn't get coffee. You could go to the store, but they wouldn't sell you any coffee because they sent it all to the war zone for the soldiers. So there was some kind of a bean, and I can't remember exactly what the name of it was, that my dad was able to buy these beans, and he would grow those plants and let them mature, and then we would boil those plants, and that was our coffee. It didn't taste like coffee, but it looked like coffee.
And I think Angel had a question. Am I right, Angel? You got a question? Uh-oh, she forgot it. That's okay. We'll get back to you if you think of it.
What you did in Disney and stuff. Is that? Yeah. And
What was that now?
From here, going to
Yeah, like how did you
California.
make it from like here to Disney, and like what'd you do there?
What was your path? How did you make it from living on Mount Magazine to working at Disneyland? What was that path?
I worked for Disney for 30, I just, at the age of 90, I just retired from Disney.
Wow.
I worked for them for 30, that was my retirement job. Cause my main profession was auto mechanic. I was a mechanic for 42 years. I went to college in San Diego and got my degree in automotive. And after I left the farm, and or after the Korean War, after I come back out of the war, and then when I retired from the automotive at the age of 68, I decided I'd had enough banging up my knuckles and everything, so I went to work for Disney, and worked for Disney for 35 years and had a great career with them. I was a boss for 18 years for Disney. Yeah. It's very interesting. I met a lot of people from all over the world, and a lot of movie actors. I escorted a lot of movie actors around the park, including Kardashian. And I didn't know who she was.
That's funny.
Somebody said, well, who do you think you're escorting? And I said, I have no idea who the woman is. Well, that's Kim Kardashian. And I go, oh, well, it really impresses me.
That's funny. All right, any other questions, or do you
I'm
want to
sorry,
hear about the
I'm
finger?
sorry if you like Kim Kardashian, but I don't. I don't like her.
I don't know.
All right, I guess we're ready to hear about the little finger then.
Yeah, somebody, who was it that asked a question about the fingers? Okay. I was almost, I think I just turned 7, possibly, and it was my second week in the first grade. And, my dad went to Havana, my granddad went to Havana or Strong Wagon. My dad was walking into Paris, so he had left about 4 o'clock in the morning, and he was walking to Paris. Because in those days, you could walk into the store and buy whatever you need to buy, and they would bring you back to the farm. So he was walking over there to buy some feed for the cattle, and then the store owner was going to bring him back. And so my mom said, now you kids get ready for school, because I'm trying to think of that teacher's name. And the first 2 weeks of school, I went to Liberty Church it's now called Rogers Church. That's where I went to school the first 2 weeks of my life. And so I went into we had a walk-in closet on the farm. And so I walked in there, and my dad had given my grandmother some dynamite caps to keep, so us kids couldn't find them. But you know how little kids are. They find everything, right?
We do.
Right? And so my grandmother had taken the stuff out of her trunk, and I went in there to change clothes to get ready for school, and I saw that pretty box, the pretty red box, and I opened the lid and got one of the dynamite caps out there, and went out and held it in my fingers like that, and then drove a nail in the end of it, and the rest is history. My fingers are gone.
I would have done the same thing.
Pardon?
Curiosity would have killed me. I would have done the same thing. I would have gotten curious, started playing with them.
Yeah, I was playing with dynamite caps. And my mother saved my mother saved my life. She came out of the barn, milking from the milk of the cows. She came and poured kerosene over my hand. In those days, kerosene was first aid. I don't know if you know what kerosene is or not.
What is that?
Do you know what kerosene is? It's the same thing that you use in camp stove and stuff like that, or next, pretty close to the same. And she poured kerosene all over my hand, and then she made me hold a fist, and then she wrapped a cloth around my hand and held my hand up and carried me for a little over a mile to the nearest car. There was a guy over on Ridge Mountain that had a car. We didn't have a car. He took me to the hospital in Paris.
What happened after that? Did they just sew them up?
Yeah, all they could do is just, if you come and take a look at them, you can see all of the marks where they sewed my hand up. Yeah. Yeah.
The moral of the
And the
story
guy-
is don't play with anything that you don't know what it is.
That what now?
Moral of the story is don't play with things that you don't know what it is.
That's my daughter, by the way.
I broke my toes doing that.
She giving me advice. She giving us advice.
All right, if there aren't any more questions, oh, you have one? Okay.
What were you playing with?
Dynamite cap.
Dynamite cap. Okay, you got to have a cap to make dynamite explode. You have to have an explosion to make a dynamite explode. And
Why was there
that's-
dynamite in the house in the first place?
I don't know.
She said, why was dynamite in the house in the first place?
Because they couldn't blow in the house.
In
Well,
those-
there wasn't no dynamite in the house, just the cow,
But what were they used, what was it used for?
Like a
the
fire.
dynamite.
Uh-huh, yeah, what was it used
Well,
for?
the dynamite was in the barn.
Yeah, but what was it used for on the
Oh,
farm?
to blow stumps out.
Okay, there you go. They
So,
needed
like,
it to blow stumps
what
out
was
of the
the
ground.
cat, like, so the cats were,
Blow up your fingers?
I'm confused.
What'd she say?
What, she still doesn't quite understand about the caps and how,
Like, how did they,
It works like a grenade.
any other questions?
It's like a very explosive firecracker. It- it-
oh, I got hit by a bike.
Wait, so you like blew
It's
up-
like a firecracker, except more explosive.
There you go.
Yeah, I got one time my cousin threw a firecracker at me and it hit me and it hurt.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those like bigger ones.
Yeah,
It wasn't like the tiny
firecracker
one.
will usually hurt you, but a dynamite cap will blow your fingers off.
All right, I think we have a few more.
So you blew your fingers up?
Yeah,
It-
so you blew your fingers up, she said.
Yeah, I sure did.
Weren't you trying to make a whistle out of the dynamite cap? Is that
Yeah,
what?
I thought I was gonna make a whistle.
You were gonna make a whistle out of
Boy,
it.
did it whistle.
Yeah, it made a boom.
It-
Not a big whistle.
But